Hi, welcome to the Success Seeds. The Power of God Makes Life Easier is a book that explores the idea of how a deep connection with God can help make life easier. The book is written by David R. Hawkins, MD, PhD, who was a renowned psychiatrist and spiritual teacher. In his book, he explores the spiritual teachings of various religions and demonstrates how they all point to the same universal truth. He also explains how we can develop our connection with God and experience more peace, happiness, and abundance in our lives. In this book, we will be discussing the key lessons from The Power of God Makes Life Easier. Lesson 1. God is an infinite intelligence. The first lesson from The Power of God Makes Life Easier is that God is an infinite intelligence. This means that God is not a person or a being, but a presence that pervades all of creation. The author, David R. Hawkins, explains that God is the underlying energy and intelligence that holds the universe together. This infinite intelligence is available to us at all times, and we can tap into it through prayer, meditation, and contemplation. The concept of God as an infinite intelligence is not new. It is a fundamental teaching in many spiritual traditions, including Hinduism, Buddhism, and Christianity. In Hinduism, the concept of Brahman represents the ultimate reality, which is infinite and all-pervading. In Buddhism, the concept of Buddha nature represents the innate potential for enlightenment that is present in all beings. In Christianity, the concept of the Holy Spirit represents the divine presence that guides and inspires believers. The idea of God as an infinite intelligence is important because it reminds us that we are not alone in the universe. We are connected to a greater power that is always available to us. When we tap into this power, we can receive guidance, wisdom, and inspiration that can help us navigate through life. To tap into the power of God as an infinite intelligence, the author suggests that we practice prayer, meditation, and contemplation. Ultimately, the lesson of God as an infinite intelligence is that we are not limited by our own abilities or resources. We have access to a power that is greater than ourselves, and we can tap into this power to create a better life for ourselves and others. By developing a deep connection with God, we can experience more peace, happiness, and abundance in our lives. Lesson 2. God is love. The second lesson from The Power of God Makes Life Easier is that God is love. According to the author, love is the essence of God and the force that drives the universe. Love is not just an emotion or a feeling, but a state of being that transcends our human experience. When we connect with God, we are connecting with the infinite love that permeates all of creation. The concept of God as love is also a common theme in many spiritual traditions. In Christianity, God is often described as a loving father who cares for his children. In Hinduism, the concept of bhakti represents the devotion and love that a devotee feels towards the divine. In Buddhism, the concept of metta represents the loving kindness and compassion that we should cultivate towards all beings. The idea that God is love is important because it reminds us that we are all connected by a common bond of love. When we connect with God, we are also connecting with the love that flows through all of creation. This love is not just reserved for a select few, but is available to everyone, regardless of their background, beliefs, or circumstances. To connect with the love of God, the author suggests that we cultivate qualities such as kindness, compassion, and forgiveness. When we practice these qualities, we open ourselves up to the love that flows through us and around us. We also become more receptive to the love of others and are able to experience deeper connections with those around us. Ultimately, the lesson of God as love is that love is the most powerful force in the universe. When we connect with this love, we are able to overcome any obstacle and experience more joy, peace, and happiness in our lives. Lesson 3. We are all one. The third lesson from The Power of God Makes Life Easier is that we are all one. According to the author, everything in the universe is connected, and we are all part of a larger whole. This means that our thoughts, feelings, and actions have an impact not just on ourselves, but on the entire universe. The concept of unity is also a fundamental teaching in many spiritual traditions. In Hinduism, the concept of Advaita represents the idea that all beings are ultimately one with the divine. In Buddhism, the concept of interdependence represents the idea that all beings are interconnected and interdependent. In Christianity, the concept of the body of Christ represents the idea that all believers are part of a larger spiritual body. The idea that we are all one is important because it reminds us that we are not isolated beings, but part of a larger community. To cultivate a sense of unity, the author suggests that we practice compassion, empathy, and understanding. We can also practice gratitude for the connections we have with others and the larger universe. When we recognize our interconnectedness, we are able to let go of the illusion of separation and experience a greater sense of peace and joy. Ultimately, the lesson of unity is that we are all part of a larger whole. When we recognize this truth, we are able to act in ways that benefit not just ourselves, but the entire universe. By cultivating a sense of unity and connection, we can create a more loving, peaceful, and harmonious world. Lesson 4. The power of forgiveness. The fourth lesson from The Power of God Makes Life Easier is the power of forgiveness. According to the author, forgiveness is one of the most powerful tools we have for healing and releasing negative emotions. Forgiveness allows us to let go of anger, resentment, and bitterness, and move forward with greater peace and clarity. The concept of forgiveness is also a common theme in many spiritual traditions. In Christianity, forgiveness is a central teaching, and believers are encouraged to forgive others as they have been forgiven by God. In Buddhism, forgiveness is seen as a way to cultivate compassion and alleviate suffering. In Hinduism, forgiveness is seen as a way to purify the heart and cultivate devotion to the divine. The idea that forgiveness is powerful is important because it reminds us that we have the ability to let go of the past and move forward with greater peace and freedom. When we hold on to anger, resentment, and bitterness, we are only hurting ourselves. Forgiveness allows us to release these negative emotions and open ourselves up to greater love, joy, and abundance. To cultivate forgiveness, the author suggests that we practice empathy and compassion towards those who have hurt us. We can also practice self-forgiveness, recognizing that we are all human and make mistakes. When we forgive others and ourselves, we create a space for healing and growth. Ultimately, the lesson of forgiveness is that it is a powerful tool for healing and transformation. When we let go of anger, resentment, and bitterness, we open ourselves up to greater love, joy, and abundance. By cultivating forgiveness in our lives, we can create a more peaceful and harmonious world. Lesson 5. Gratitude is the key to abundance. The fifth lesson from The Power of God Makes Life Easier is that gratitude is the key to abundance. According to the author, when we cultivate a sense of gratitude for what we have, we attract more abundance and blessings into our lives. Gratitude shifts our focus from what we lack to what we have, and opens us up to greater opportunities and possibilities. The concept of gratitude is also a common theme in many spiritual traditions. In Christianity, believers are encouraged to give thanks for all things, recognizing that everything comes from God. In Buddhism, gratitude is seen as a way to cultivate joy and alleviate suffering. In Hinduism, gratitude is seen as a way to cultivate devotion and attract blessings. The idea that gratitude is the key to abundance is important because it reminds us that we already have so much to be thankful for. When we focus on what we lack, we attract more lack into our lives. But when we focus on what we have, we attract more abundance and blessings. To cultivate gratitude, the author suggests that we practice daily gratitude exercises such as writing in a gratitude journal or expressing gratitude to others. We can also practice gratitude in moments of difficulty, recognizing that challenges and obstacles can be opportunities for growth and learning. Ultimately, the lesson of gratitude is that it is a powerful tool for attracting more abundance and blessings into our lives. When we cultivate a sense of gratitude, we shift our focus from lack to abundance and open ourselves up to greater opportunities and possibilities. By practicing gratitude, we can create a more joyful and abundant life. Lesson 6. We create our own reality. The sixth lesson from The Power of God Makes Life Easier is that we create our own reality. According to the author, our thoughts, beliefs, and emotions shape the experiences we have in life. This means that if we want to create a more positive and abundant life, we must first shift our thoughts and beliefs to align with our desired outcome. The concept of creating our own reality is also a common theme in many spiritual traditions. In Hinduism, the law of karma represents the idea that our actions have consequences, and we create our own destiny through our thoughts, words, and deeds. In Buddhism, the law of dependent origination represents the idea that our experiences are created by our thoughts and beliefs. In Christianity, the power of faith represents the idea that we can create miracles through our beliefs and trust in God. The idea that we create our own reality is important because it reminds us that we have the power to shape our lives in a positive direction. When we take responsibility for our thoughts, beliefs, and emotions, we can create a more fulfilling and abundant life. To create a more positive reality, the author suggests that we practice positive thinking, visualization, and affirmations. We can also examine our limiting beliefs and work to shift them into more empowering beliefs. When we focus on what we want, rather than what we don't want, we create a magnetic force that attracts our desires into our lives. Ultimately, the lesson of creating our own reality is that we have the power to shape our lives in a positive direction. When we take responsibility for our thoughts, beliefs, and emotions, we can create a more fulfilling and abundant life. By practicing positive thinking and visualization, we can create a more positive and abundant reality. Lesson 7. We can heal ourselves. The seventh lesson from the power of God makes life easier is that we can heal ourselves. According to the author, we have the power to heal our physical, emotional, and spiritual wounds through the power of our thoughts, beliefs, and emotions. The concept of self-healing is also a common theme in many spiritual traditions. In traditional Chinese medicine, for example, the emphasis is on maintaining a balance of energy within the body to promote healing. In Ayurvedic medicine, the focus is on balancing the body, mind, and spirit to achieve optimal health. In Western medicine, the power of the mind-body connection is increasingly recognized as a factor in healing. The idea that we can heal ourselves is important because it reminds us that we have the power to take charge of our own health and well-being. When we take responsibility for our physical, emotional, and spiritual health, we can create a more balanced and harmonious life. To heal ourselves, the author suggests that we cultivate positive thoughts and beliefs, practice self-care, and seek out support from others when needed. We can also explore alternative therapies such as meditation, acupuncture, or energy healing to help balance our energy and promote healing. Ultimately, the lesson of self-healing is that we have the power to take charge of our own health and well-being. By cultivating positive thoughts and beliefs, practicing self-care, and seeking out support when needed, we can create a more balanced and harmonious life. By recognizing the power of our own minds and bodies, we can create a more fulfilling and abundant life. Lesson 8. Surrendering to God. The eighth lesson from the power of God makes life easier is the importance of surrendering to God. According to the author, surrendering to God means letting go of our attachment to control and trusting in the divine plan. It means surrendering our fears and worries to God and trusting that everything will work out for our highest good. The concept of surrendering to God is also a common theme in many spiritual traditions. In Christianity, believers are encouraged to surrender their lives to God and trust in His plan. In Buddhism, surrendering to the present moment is seen as a path to inner peace and enlightenment. In Hinduism, surrendering to God is seen as a way to let go of the ego and achieve union with the divine. The idea of surrendering to God is important because it reminds us that we are not in control of everything. When we let go of our attachment to control and trust in the divine plan, we create space for miracles to occur and allow ourselves to be guided towards our highest good. To surrender to God, the author suggests that we practice letting go of our fears and worries and trusting in the divine plan. We can also practice meditation and prayer to deepen our connection with God and surrender our desires and wishes to Him. Ultimately, the lesson of surrendering to God is that we can find peace and contentment when we let go of our attachment to control and trust in the divine plan. By surrendering our fears and worries to God, we create space for miracles to occur and allow ourselves to be guided towards our highest good. Thanks for watching. For more such videos, please subscribe.